Here's a thought that might just catch you off guard. A woman can be deeply in love with you and still, somehow, take you for granted. It's a paradox that unfolds more often than you'd think. And the most bewildering part? We often don't even see it happening. Not until the chase ends. Not until you're no longer there. That's when the silence becomes deafening. That's when we start to ache for the very man we swore we could live without. Let's be clear, most women aren't villains in this story. We're not master manipulators plotting your heartbreak. We are creatures of emotion, driven by impulse and a deep-seated need for connection. But in that dance, we also test the lines you draw in the sand. Sometimes, your unwavering consistency is mistaken for weakness. Your patience, we might confuse for a lack of other options. And far too often, we operate under the dangerous assumption that you will always be there, until one day, you simply aren't. You see, the moment a woman senses your world has stopped revolving around her, when your energy recedes and your once constant presence begins to fade, it's like a switch is flipped deep within her. That is the precise moment the missing begins. But by then, it's no longer about what you're doing. It's about the void she feels in your absence. This isn't about placing blame or criticizing women. This is about pulling back the curtain and sharing the unvarnished truth, straight from a woman's perspective, so you can finally stop questioning what went wrong. It's time to understand the intricate dynamics at play. Because yes, there are signs. There are subtle, psychological turning points when a woman starts to truly miss the man she once overlooked. If you've ever felt taken for granted, or if you're pulling back right now and trying to decipher what she might be feeling in the quiet, this is for you. I'm going to guide you through it, step by step, not with textbook theories, but with the raw, unfiltered truth of how we think and feel when we realize we may have just lost a man who was never as replaceable as we thought. First, it truly hits when you stop reaching out. You want to know the exact moment we start missing you? It's not during the heated arguments. It's not even when we're giving you the silent treatment, pretending we don't care. It's when your name vanishes from our phone screen. The check-ins cease. The good morning texts stop. Those little updates we pretended to be annoyed by are suddenly gone. And that's when a new kind of silence begins to creep in. Not around us, but inside us. Most women are conditioned to being pursued. We're accustomed to a man proving his worth, showing up consistently, even when we're a whirlwind of hot and cold. When a man maintains that presence, it gives us a sense of power. We think, I've got him. In that headspace, it becomes dangerously easy to take him for granted without a second thought. But when he stops, the foundation cracks. At first, it's just confusion. Why hasn't he messaged me today? Then it morphs into compulsively checking our phone, refreshing your social media, and watching your stories just to get a glimpse into your world. Even if we never dare to like or comment, we feel that palpable shift in your energy, and our ego has no idea how to process it. And don't be mistaken, this doesn't take long. A few days, maybe a week of that distance is more than enough to make a woman who once claimed she needed space suddenly feel a surge of anxiety about what you're doing without her. We start to wonder, did he meet someone else? Is he angry? Did I push it too far? Is he actually done with me? What you must understand is that when a woman pulls back or acts indifferent, it's often a subconscious test to see how hard you'll fight for her. But when you choose to walk away instead, it sends a shockwave through her system, because deep down, she expected you to hold on tighter. And when you don't, she begins to realize just how much she relied on your presence, your voice, your attention. The very things she once overlooked become the things she desperately starts to crave. You stop reaching out, and in that void, she starts to understand what she's losing. And the cruelest part for her, she can't just rewind and pick up where you left off, because you've changed. You're no longer the pursuer. You're no longer giving your energy away so freely. And just like that, she's the one left to wonder. That single shift is when the missing truly begins. Next, we remember all the things you did that we failed to appreciate. It's a strange thing, isn't it? We don't miss you for the grand, sweeping gestures. We miss you for the quiet, almost invisible things, the things that didn't seem to matter until you stopped doing them. It's not about the lavish dinners or the extravagant surprises. It's about the way you used to text us good morning without fail. It's how you noticed we were exhausted, even when we insisted we were fine. It's how you'd show up, not with a bouquet of roses, but with our favorite snack after a long day. Or how you'd remember a tiny detail from a passing conversation that everyone else missed. We remember how you made us feel safe, heard, chosen, but here's the brutal honesty. At the time, we didn't always see its value. We grew accustomed to it, comfortable, perhaps even a little entitled. We just assumed that was who you were, the nice guy, the one who always cared, always gave, always showed up. And when we were lost in our own moods and frustrations, we probably made you feel like none of it mattered, like your efforts were completely invisible. But once you're gone, those same actions echo with deafening loudness. We start to miss that steady, calming presence. We miss the way you supported us without ever needing a thank you. We miss the way you forgave us when we were far from our best. And we feel this loss not just because you stopped, but because we quickly learn that no one else does it quite like you did. We begin to measure every new man against your memory. And here's a truth most women will never admit out loud. When we find ourselves with men who lack that emotional depth, who don't pay attention, who fail to see us the way you did, that is when the regret truly sinks in. Because now, we finally get it. We realize we didn't just lose someone who liked us. We lost someone who genuinely cared. We lost someone who gave far more than he received. Someone who was emotionally intelligent, present, and aware. And that kind of man, he is exceptionally rare. It hits us when we're lying in bed, scrolling through our phone, and see something that triggers a memory of you. It hits when someone new gets annoyed with us for the very thing you would have been patient about. It hits when we try to open up to someone else and realize the connection just isn't there. You taught us a language of love we didn't even know we needed until it was gone. And by the time we finally understand what we had, you're already beyond our reach. So yes, we miss you. But more than that, we miss the person we were when we were seen through your eyes. And if you've ever wondered if she remembers all those little things you did, believe me, she does, more than you could ever know. Then we start playing it cool, but inside, we're completely spiraling. When we finally realize we've taken a good man for granted, we rarely admit it right away. In fact, our first instinct is often to project an image of being completely unbothered. We'll post a few living my best life stories on social media, maybe even start talking to someone new. This isn't because we're over you. It's because we're desperately trying to look like we are. It's a defense mechanism. We don't want you to have the satisfaction of knowing you're on our mind, that we're replaying conversations, wondering if we pushed you too far, if we mistook your love for weakness. And worst of all, we're terrified that we may have lost you for good. Inside, we are spiraling, quietly, secretly, but we will not let it show. This is how many women cope with regret. We compartmentalize. We try to bury the feeling under a mountain of distractions, attention, and validation from others. But none of it ever truly works. Because the truth is, When a woman forms a genuine emotional connection with a man and then loses it, that feeling doesn't just disappear. It lingers. It haunts. We'll see you moving on, glowing up. Maybe even doing the very things we once said we wanted to do with you, but now you're doing them without us. And that stings, because now we're forced to confront the fact that it wasn't that you weren't enough. It was that we failed to recognize your value in time. But even then, we won't come rushing back. Not immediately. We'll wait. We'll watch to see if you reach out. We'll hold on to a sliver of hope that you still care, that you're still checking on us, that you're still wondering. And when you don't, the panic begins to set in. We start asking ourselves questions we never bothered with before. Was I too cold? Did I expect too much? Did I make him feel unappreciated? Does he hate me now? It gets even worse when you remain silent, because now we have no idea where we stand. And women despise uncertainty, especially when it comes from a man we foolishly assumed would always be there. You see, we often operate under the illusion that we have all the time in the world, that you'll be there, waiting, that if we pull back, you'll chase harder, that we can test your patience and you'll stay. But when you defy those expectations, when you actually stop showing up, stop calling, stop caring, that's when we start to lose our composure internally. We might put on a brave face, but trust me, your silence is louder than any argument you could ever make. It forces us to sit with everything we chose to ignore, all the ways we may have mistreated you, all the efforts you made that we brushed aside. And the longer you stay silent, the more we realize he really might not be coming back this time. That is the moment missing you transforms into regret. And regret becomes a brutal wake-up call. Not every woman gets there, but the ones who truly cared, even if their actions didn't show it, they feel it in their bones when they lose you. Let me be brutally honest with you. When we start missing a man we once took for granted, it's not a quiet, gentle longing. There is a full-scale war raging inside of us. One part of our mind is screaming, "You messed up. You pushed away a good man." While the other part retorts, "No, stay strong. Don't show it. He should have fought harder for you." This battle between ego and emotion is absolutely brutal. The ego's primary job is to protect us. It tells us not to admit fault, not to apologize, and certainly not to make the first move. To do so would feel like surrender, like losing the power we once held. Many women, especially those accustomed to being pursued, will cling to that sense of control, even when it's costing them the very connection they secretly crave. But emotion cannot be buried forever. The truth is, we feel it all. Missing you comes in waves. It hits us late at night when the world is quiet. It ambushes us when we see something that reminds us of an inside joke. It strikes when we're laughing with someone new and suddenly realize it's not the same, that they don't make us feel the way you did. That's when the emotional side of us begins to claw its way to the surface. We start admitting things to ourselves that our pride would never let us say out loud. Things like, "I expected him to read my mind," or "I wanted him to chase me," not realizing he was already exhausted from proving himself. Or "I acted like I didn't need him, but I desperately did." As these emotional truths pile up, the ego starts to lose its footing. But here's where it gets complicated. We don't always reveal this internal shift. You might not see any evidence of it on the outside. You might think we've completely moved on, but inside, we are wrestling with what we feel versus what we're terrified to admit. Sometimes we'll test the waters. We might watch your stories, like an old photo, or send a vague, "Hey, hope you're doing well" message. That message doesn't say much, but what it really means is, "I'm still thinking about you." Often, we're not even expecting a full reconciliation. We just want to know that the door isn't completely shut, that we haven't lost you entirely. But if we sense that you have truly checked out, that you are emotionally gone, that your energy has shifted for good, that is when emotion finally shatters the ego. What was once just missing you turns into that sinking, pit of the stomach feeling that women rarely talk about, regret with no possibility of return. And believe me, no woman wants to live in that space. It's painful, it's humbling, and it makes us wish we could rewind time and undo every word we said and every action we took when we thought we had forever. Do you want to know when we really start to miss you? It's not always in the immediate aftermath of the breakup. It's not even when the silence first kicks in. No, the moment that truly changes everything is when we see that you didn't just survive without us. You started to thrive. The moment we realize you're not sitting around waiting for us to come back is when it hits differently. I remember this one guy. We were on and off for a while, and if I'm being honest, I thought I had the upper hand. He was kind, patient, and emotionally grounded, but I treated those qualities as safe, not sexy. I was convinced he would always be there. Then one day, I stumbled upon his Instagram, and it was like looking at a different man. He looked lighter, happier. He was out at events, traveling, hitting the gym, and smiling in a way he never did when we were together. There was no bitterness, no passive-aggressive captions, just pure, unadulterated peace. And I hated it. Not because I wanted him to be miserable, but because I suddenly realized I no longer held any power over him. I had let a good man go, and now he was shining without me. I can't lie, I panicked. I wanted to reach out. I even typed and deleted a message several times. I kept thinking, was I really that forgettable? Did I even matter at all? Here's the thing. When a man pulls away, we might roll our eyes. But when a man levels up, we notice. Women always notice when a man stops chasing and starts glowing. It triggers a psychological shift in us that is impossible to ignore. Suddenly, we're no longer the ones evaluating you. We feel like we're the ones being evaluated. And the worst part, when it's clear you're not doing it to prove a point to us, that's when it cuts the deepest. Because women can tell when a man is showing off to get our attention versus when he is genuinely in his own lane, moving on and rebuilding himself. When we took you for granted, we assumed you'd remain in the same emotional space. But when we see that you haven't, when your energy is calm and unbothered, when your silence has substance, it forces us to face a truth we were desperately trying to avoid. Me were part of the problem. Once that thought takes root, it doesn't go away quietly. We start thinking about everything you brought to the table, your consistency, your softness, your strength, all the things we failed to value in the moment. And now, we're watching a new version of you emerge, a healed, evolving version that we no longer have access to. It stings. That's when the missing begins, but not the gentle kind. It's the sick-to-your-stomach kind. The kind that wakes you up in the middle of the night and makes you wonder how you could have ever let someone like Yim slip away. Let me tell you something you probably won't hear from women very often. Silence from a man who used to care isn't just no contact. It's psychological warfare in the most constructive way possible. Here's what's really happening behind the scenes. When we take a man for granted, it's almost always because we assume he'll be a permanent fixture in our lives. Whether you're soft-spoken, forgiving, or just emotionally available, many women translate that as safe, which, unfortunately, can be mistaken for expendable. But when that same man goes completely quiet, when you stop checking in, stop reacting, stop trying, it doesn't just create an absence, it creates tension. It carves out a space for reflection, and for us, that space is dangerous. The silence becomes a mirror, one we can no longer avoid looking into. Without your voice filling our days, we are forced to listen to our own thoughts. And that's when the real questions start to surface. Did I completely mess this up? Why hasn't he called? Was he ever really that into me? Wait, is he over me? And trust me, those thoughts spiral, and they spiral fast. Because the moment we sense you are no longer emotionally tethered to us, it doesn't feel like peace. It feels like rejection. Even if we were the ones who pushed you away, even if we were the ones who walked out first, your silence begins to feel like a punishment, even though you're simply minding your own business. Here's what most men fail to realize. When a woman knows she took a man for granted and he doesn't reach out, she doesn't feel empowered. She feels replaced. And that fear, it grows quietly day by day. We start watching to see if you've moved on, checking to see if you've changed, asking mutual friends about you in subtle ways, searching for your name online. And if we find nothing, it drives us crazy, because we know what that silence truly means. You're gone, not temporarily waiting, not playing a game, gone. Deep down, every woman who has taken a man for granted fears one thing above all else: that you will finally realize your own worth without needing her validation to see it. So, if you are in that silent phase right now, wondering if she's thinking about you, the answer is almost certainly yes. But more importantly, it's not just that she's thinking, it's that she's feeling. She is sitting in a space she is not used to, one where she is no longer in control, where her feminine influence no longer sways you. And when a woman feels that profound emotional disconnection from a man she once dismissed, that is precisely when regret shows up. Not with a bang, but quietly and deeply. So don't break the silence just because it feels uncomfortable. You have no idea how powerful it truly is, or how much clarity it is creating in her. Let me be blunt, because sometimes you need to hear this from a woman who genuinely respects men. If you allow a woman to treat you like an afterthought, if you keep showing up for her when she clearly isn't showing up for you, if you keep proving your loyalty to someone who doesn't value it, then you are actively teaching her that you are replaceable. And I promise you, once a woman believes that about you, she will start acting like it's true. Now, I'm not saying women are cruel or heartless, but we are emotional, intuitive, and when it comes to dating, we are extremely reactive to how a man presents himself. If you are always available, always agreeable, always forgiving, even when we cross clear boundaries, we stop feeling your value. Instead, we start sensing your desperation. And that was a deeply unattractive energy. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Women do not respect what we can completely control. If we know you'll be there no matter how we act, we lose that magnetic pull to be our best selves around you. You become easy, predictable, emotionally cheap. We don't consciously decide to take you for granted, but we do. And by the time you realize it, it has become a dynamic that you have silently co-created. But here is the good news. You can change it, and not by chasing harder or demanding respect. You change it by withdrawing your energy from where it is not being reciprocated. You shift the power dynamic by holding yourself to a higher standard, not as a tactic, but as a fundamental way of life. You show us through your actions that you know who you are and that you are not afraid to lose someone who fails to see your worth. And trust me, that change, we feel it instantly. We notice when the energy shifts, when you stop chasing, when you start moving like a man who knows he brings immense value to the table and isn't begging for anyone to take a seat. So if you're in a situation where you gave too much and she started treating you like an option, it's time to stop blaming her and start looking inward. What part of you kept hoping that your love alone would be enough to make her appreciate you? That is the part of you that needs healing. Because the minute you realize that you hold the power to set the tone for how you are treated, everything changes. A woman cannot take a man for granted who doesn't give her the chance to. Let that sink in. Here's the truth most women won't say out loud. We don't miss you because you were nice. We don't miss you because you did everything right. We miss you when you make us feel something we cannot replace. That isn't always about looks or status or being the perfect guy. It's about how you hold yourself. It's about the emotional imprint you leave behind when you finally walk away. Not in anger, not in desperation, but in quiet, confident peace. Quiet. Confident detachment hits different. When a man stops trying to prove his worth and simply lives as if he already knows it, that is when we start remembering him. And if we took you for granted, that shift doesn't just sting, it haunts us. Because now we know we can't get that version of you back. Not unless we rise to meet you, not unless we become worthy of you. So if you've been hurt by a woman who didn't see your value, don't chase closure. Don't chase her. Become the man who doesn't need to be seen because he already sees himself. And believe me, that is the man we miss. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been taken for granted by a woman you gave your all to? Did she come back, or did you walk away for good? Drop your story in the comments below. I'll be reading and replying, because these conversations matter. And on her hidden depths, I respect every man who is ready to grow from the truth.